want to talk.
Welcome to the Community Board meeting of the Aging Committee for Concerns of the Aging on Community Board 12 on this fourth day of April, 2000. Welcome to the Community Board 12 Committee for Concerns of the Aging on this Thursday, April 4th. I want to say good morning to Christian.
Morning, everyone.
Morning. I just want to ask you what your capability is of translation.
Translation. I can translate into Spanish.
I have somebody coming, but she's running late. And I,
We have a translator coming.
we're left
is
to
that-
hold the meeting up any, much longer. We can wait another couple of minutes, but.
Okay,
Okay, if that works for you, and then I can just give you a heads up.
sure.
During your presentation, I could just say, okay, Christian, or something like that. And that will give you the clue, okay?
You mean include that translation has started.
Somebody else will translate.
Okay, is somebody going to be translating at the same time with another audio channel, or am I sort of stopping after every few phrases and having somebody translate? How is that going to work?
Hold on a second.
No, we don't have that arrangement, Christian.
Sorry, I can't hear you very well.
Probably after you finish. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we don't have a simultaneous translation in the Zoom.
Okay.
Somebody gonna translate it probably here in the floor.
Okay.
After you speak, probably a paragraph, somebody can translate that.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I can do that. Thank you.
Okay, because, I
Laura.
didn't, I was away and that was something that wasn't even on my mind. And then actually at the last meeting, which I was not at, the decision was made to have the meeting here at the Dykeman Senior Center. So that involves some of their clients and, they're not all English speakers. So
Okay, that's fine.
a little switch in things. Oh, there's my translator. Never mind, Christian.
Okay.
Let me ask her.
Rosie.
So, good.
So I should ask you now?
If you want me again, so.
Huh?
Yeah, you.
Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome everybody to the Community Board 12 Committee for Concerns of the Aging meeting on this fourth day of April 2024. And I'm sorry we're getting started a little bit late, but due to circumstances beyond our control, things happen. Okay, so I am Mary Anderson, and I am the chair of this committee. And I don't have any of my other committee members with me in person.
We're getting a microphone.
I do want to say that
Or you don't think you need one?
we don't need it.
You don't need.
Yeah, just leave it,
Huh?
yeah, please, if I'm gonna
project, I need.
Oh,
I
okay.
need to-
Oh, okay.
I
Yes,
need to
the
have-
people here in the audience, yes.
Okay,
I
okay,
don't
yes.
know.
People in Zoom can hear.
All
very
right, so
well.
we're having translation done by a colleague of mine, who I work with frequently.
Which credit to you?
Howard.
I don't think. they
Okay,
can-
so in just a second, we're gonna get started. I just want to say,
Support over this. And many years. Each meeting or request for fiscal year 25 funding support
I'm sorry,
to
who's
cover
speaking?
on cover.
Ilana, we can hear you.
Oh, dear.
Mute yourself. Okay, I'm gonna forego the usual introductions because of the time constraint, and I don't want to short Christian of his time to give a presentation. So again, welcome everybody, and we're gonna get this meeting started. We have as our presenter this morning, Christian Gonzalez, who is a member of the State Society on Aging. He is also the Director of Strategic Policy Initiatives at the Brookdale Center for Healthy Aging. And we welcome him. And Christian, take it away.
Okay, thank you very much, Mary, for inviting me and for all of you for having me at this meeting. So again, I mean, it's like as Mary said, my name is Christian Gonzalez. So I'm just going to give a little bit of background as to what both the Brookdale Center for Healthy Aging is, and then also what the State Society on Aging is. I mean, just so you know where I'm coming from. So let me start with the Brookdale Center for Healthy Aging. I'm the Director of Policy there. Oh, is the translation ready, by the way?
Yes, hold on a second.
Okay, all right, let me, just to make sure that it's,
I suggest like if
Condensed version, yeah. Hold on a second, Christian, I'm sorry. Did you hear anybody? No? Okay, so what you can do is translate just who he is. Christian Gonzalez, member of the State Society, and he's da-da-da.
Okay, buenos días. Is anybody here that don't speak Spanish? You don't speak Spanish? Okay. So we're gonna have to
So we
somehow
need-
project.
I need you to say that in
So I'm gonna
Spanish.
translate Spanish what we said. Basically, right now, we just, we're welcoming the people in Zoom.
No,
there
we
was a
need you to
presentation.
say everything in Spanish. He said it in English already.
I'm gonna translate for him. I'm just saying everything in English for him. Okay, just projecting.
He's already heard that.
No, we couldn't
Yeah.
hear it.
Couldn't hear it?
No,
Okay,
nobody heard it.
let's start over again.
All right, so we're
Okay.
gonna start over.
Christian, I'm sorry. Could you begin again? Thank you.
Probably we can bring the people around the table so they
Just-
can listen more closely. What do you think?
To bring people around the table to kind of hear, so they
Okay.
can.
Okay.
Sir, if you want to sit down here, bring your chair here.
If people who speak English only.
People in the room are having trouble
Get closer
hearing.
to the
so-
table so you can hear what's being said here, and I'm just gonna translate in Spanish. Buenos días. Disculpen cómo está la cosa ahora mismo. Básicamente estamos estamos haciendo la introducción en español, en inglés, en el Zoom, porque es híbrida la reunión. Vamos a tener un presentador de la Sociedad del Estado en Envejecimiento. Se llama Christian González, cual es el director de estrategias, iniciativas, de pólizas e iniciativas de póliza estratégica. Así es, el director de Brookdale Center para Healthy Aging. ¿Okay? So, él que va a presentar. Yo voy a traducirles lo mejor posible. ¿Ok? So, bienvenidos y gracias.
okay, so good morning, muy buenos días a todos. So again, my name, as Mary said, my name is Christian Gonzalez. And so I'm going to be talking about two roles that I have. I mean, one is my role at the Brookdale Center for Healthy Aging. and the other is the State Society on Aging. So I want to begin the presentation by talking about what those two roles are so that you know where I'm coming from.
Louder, have the music. Can it be a little bit louder?
Louder, we're talking to me, or?
But we want to have the speaker here for the hour a little louder, but you can continue your presentation.
Okay, I just paused so that that part could be translated, if possible. Or I can say it again if needed.
Go ahead, say it.
Christian, go ahead.
Ok, ¿le hace falta traducir esta parte o no?
Puedes
No,
repetir.
solo la parte que yo estoy hablando de mis dos roles y bueno, básicamente diciéndole a la gente que tengo dos roles y que quisiera empezar hablando sobre esos dos roles para que sepan de dónde vengo, de dónde viene la información que les voy a presentar.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I just go from there?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. So on the one hand, the Brookdale Center for Healthy Aging is an academic research and policy center that's focused on aging. And so when at Brookdale we think about aging, we're thinking not just about people who are already older, but we're thinking about aging as a lifelong process, something that happens when you're born and that continues throughout the course of your lives. So when we're thinking about policies, especially social policies, we're thinking about how those policies affect people differently throughout the course of their lives.
Eso para traducir lo que estaba diciendo, que cuando uno piensa en, Christian, please help me if I'm not translating correctly. Que cuando uno piensa en envejecimiento, uno piensa en envejecimiento del momento de la niñez. Uno va en envejecimiento cada año, cada tiempo. So no es un proceso, es un proceso, no es una etapa.
Okay. And that's something that drives our work at the Brookdale Center. And so, for instance, I mean, we'll look at education policy, we'll look at the built environment, meaning, I mean, how the city is built and whether it's accessible to people of all ages. We're looking at all the different parts of the city and the policies that control what happens in the city. And we think about how it affects people throughout the course of their lives.
So básicamente está hablando también sobre las pólizas.
Is it possible to turn so I can see because I'm like a visual person?
Christian, can you help me with this one? I think I lost what you said.
Sorry, what was that?
Can you translate for me in Spanish what you just said?
Sure, yeah. Bueno, lo clave de lo que dije es que nuestra organización piensa sobre las varias partes de la ciudad. Eso incluye la construcción física de la ciudad, es decir, las calles, los edificios, los accesos a los edificios y todo eso, ese tipo de infraestructura física. Pensamos de el nivel hasta el cual toda esa infraestructura es asequible para las personas de todas las edades. También estamos pensando en las pólizas sociales que existen en cualquier campo. Puede ser educación, transportación, varias partes de las pólizas que controlan la ciudad. Estamos pensando hasta qué punto están asequibles y hasta qué punto también llenan las necesidades de las personas de todas las edades. Entonces nosotros damos consejos a los concejales, al alcalde y también a los gobernadores en Albany sobre las pólizas que deben de crear para que Nueva York sea un lugar mejor para envejecer. So back to English. So on the other hand, I'm also a past president of the State Society on Aging of New York. And that's an organization that's been around since 1972 and is focused on, it's basically a collection of different people who work with older adults. So these are gerontologists. It's also social workers, economists. It's a wide range of people of different disciplines who are all focused on the well-being of older New Yorkers.
Continue. Continue.
Okay. Okay. And so I was invited to speak to you about, in particular, my role with the State Society on Aging of New York. And so it's an organization. So again, I mean, it's like it brings together various people, and the main the main way that we get together is through an annual conference. And so usually it happens in October of every year, where we bring together various groups of people, and different people give presentations about what what research they've done throughout the year, or they talk about programs that they have available that they want to share. I mean, it's like with the rest of the community. It's essentially an opportunity for people in the aging field throughout the state to be able to come together and learn about each other's programs and learn about the latest research around the field of aging.
Él estaba diciendo sobre las pólizas que I need to have my coffee.
Okay.
Sí, and I'm still out of it.
Okay.
Thank you. So, no, this is my coffee. Yeah, that's my
What?
Now I lost it.
Go ahead, Christian. I
Wait,
apologize.
so
I'll get-
okay, you want me to translate what I just said, or? Okay, I lost the audio. Sorry.
You were saying about the state policy and the research.
Okay, so I'll just translate that part, right? Okay, all right. Bueno, entonces nosotros nos reunimos una vez al año en persona. Durante la pandemia, claro, fue diferente, pero nos reunimos una vez al año, normalmente cerca de Albany, y eso es una oportunidad para diferentes investigadores de diferentes campos: gerontología, trabajo social, economistas. Varias personas se reúnen para intercambiar información sobre las investigaciones que se han hecho, que se han realizado durante ese año, y también es una oportunidad para directores de diferentes organizaciones, como por ejemplo Centros para las Personas de Tercera Edad, como el de ustedes, para que puedan hablar sobre las iniciativas que han podido realizar en sus programas, y para que otras personas en el estado aprendan sobre las lecciones que diferentes programas han podido realizar y aprender en el año. Así que eso es una manera en que el campo de personas que están trabajando en el campo de envejecimiento pueden adelantar y aprender de uno al otro. So I'm getting a chat that there's a problem with the audio again. Okay, so presenter to do his own translation. Okay, so I'll do that from now on. I'll do my own translation. Okay, recibí un mensaje que debo de traducir porque hay un problema con el audio. Así que voy a estar hablando primero en inglés y después voy a estar traduciendo lo que yo mismo dije, para que todo el mundo lo sepa. So I'm going to be saying first in English and then translating into Spanish, just so everyone knows. I mean, so once again, okay, I already said that part in English, sorry. Bueno, así que nos reunimos una vez al año para intercambiar esta información, y esa es vamos a hacer el propósito mayor que ejerce la Asociación para el Envejecimiento del Estado de Nueva York. Y nos establecimos en 1972, originalmente como una asociación solo de gerontólogos. Pero entonces, dado al hecho que no solo son los gerontólogos que prestan atención a las necesidades de las personas mayores, pero también hay muchas personas en muchos diferentes campos y diferentes gerencias que se dedican a eso mismo, al mejoramiento de las necesidades de las personas mayores. Así que hemos expandido nuestra membresía a no solo gerontólogos, pero otras personas de otros campos también. Por ejemplo, yo soy planificador urbano, y también ejerzo ese cargo, pero en el contexto de mejoramiento de la ciudad y del estado para las personas mayores. So I was just adding a piece that I'm an urban planner as an example. I mean, it's like we have a wide range of disciplines that all meet every year to talk about our research and talk about our programs. And it's a wide range of people. And I, for example, am an urban planner by training, and I also contribute to this work. Okay, I think we're caught up in both languages now. And so another important part of this annual conference is that we also bring in policymakers. So we've had the chairs of the Assembly and Senate committees come to speak to us at this conference. We've also had the head of the New York State Office for the Aging who comes to speak to us at this conference as well, just to give us an update of what's been going on over the past year, from the last conference to this year's conference in the field, in both in Albany and in the city. Así que como parte de estas conferencias que hacemos anualmente, también vienen nuestros líderes en el campo de envejecimiento, como por ejemplo el líder de los comités del Senado y de la Asamblea que se dedican a los temas de envejecimiento, vienen a la conferencia para hablar sobre todos los acontecimientos que han ocurrido en el último año. También el director de la Oficina Estatal de las Personas Mayores también vienen a hablar con nosotros para hacer lo mismo. Y entonces eso es un campo importante para poder interactuar con los líderes que están tomando las decisiones que afectan a las personas mayores en Nueva York, y una oportunidad de directamente comunicar las investigaciones, los resultados de las investigaciones que estamos haciendo, y también los resultados de los programas que se están realizando en el estado, en el campo de envejecimiento. Así que es un foro importante para eso, y se ha establecido así durante varias décadas. So as to give a few examples so in addition to that annual conference, we also have events throughout the year. And this is something that we started doing during the pandemic because, of course, everything was remote. But since the pandemic, we've taken the opportunity to just have more of those events throughout the year, to have more points of contact with older New Yorkers throughout the state, and also our colleagues throughout the state, since of course, Zoom is, the easiest way to have that happen. So, tenemos la conferencia todos los años, pero también empezando durante la pandemia, hemos hecho una serie de eventos por Zoom durante todo el año. Y varias de estas presentaciones tienen que ver con un tópico en particular, o algunas son discusiones en particular que nos dan la oportunidad de poder interactuar con nuestras colegas por el estado entero durante el año, no solo esa una vez al año durante la conferencia. So to give a few examples of what we've been able to work on, for instance, I mean, starting now that we're talking about the pandemic, we had a very important discussion in the summer of 2020 about the issue of diversity in the field of aging. And so one of the things that we notice is that aging itself, especially when you think about researchers in the field, it's not a very diverse field. And yet the part of the older population that is growing the most in New York City and in many other places in the state is actually the population of people who are immigrants and people of color. And so we were discussing how it's very important to really think about the topic of diversity in an increasingly diverse aging population. Para dar un ejemplo de una de las presentaciones y discusiones que pudimos tener durante el año, no solo en la conferencia, en el verano de 2020, cuando, claro, hubieron muchísimos cambios, particularmente elevaciones sociales, pensando sobre el rol de la diversidad en la sociedad, que eso es algo que, por supuesto, se habló mucho en el 2020 por los acontecimientos que ocurrieron ese año. Y entonces nosotros, como respuesta, levantamos una discusión sobre Zoom, en que las personas... estábamos hablando del significado de tener un campo de personas que están trabajando y investigando en el campo de envejecimiento que no son tan diversos como las personas mayores en el estado de Nueva York. Estábamos hablando que la parte de la población que está creciendo más que otras partes de la población es la porción de las personas mayores que están compuestos de inmigrantes y también personas de color, sobre todo personas afroamericanas y latinas y asiáticas. Y entonces, dado que la diversidad de las personas mayores está incrementando, tenemos que responder de alguna manera correspondiente cuando estamos mirando a las personas que están haciendo las investigaciones y que están realizando los programas para las personas mayores. Esas personas tienen que ser igual, tan diversas como las personas mayores mismas. Y entonces eso es eso es un tema que tuvimos mucho éxito, vinieron más de 200 personas a ese evento para poder discutir ese tema. Um, another example is that we have a very active board member who's working on palliative care and end of life care, and really thinking about all the ways in which at the end of life, different people get very, very different experiences in terms of their care and different levels of autonomy when making their own decisions at the end of life. And though there are laws in place that are looking at that field, not still, I mean, it's like the level of care at the end of life is still very uneven throughout the state. Una de las expertas que miembros del State Society on Aging es una persona que se dedica al cuidado de las personas en el campo médico en el final de la vida. Y entonces estamos reconociendo que diferentes personas, dependiendo de quiénes son, dónde viven en el estado y en qué hospital van o qué otro tipo um, de campo de cuidado están. Eso depende del nivel de cuidado que pueden tener. Y eso es algo que todavía no se ha correspondido y no se ha igualizado en el estado entero. Así que eso es un campo en que ella ha estado trabajando muchísimos años en eso. Y claro, el State Society on Aging le da una plataforma para poder platicar sobre ese tema en el estado entero y también intercambiar informaciones sobre ese tema en el estado entero. Another topic that we've discussed, actually, I mean, it's again, I see that we are joined by Laura Whitehorn from Release Asian People in Prison, is that we've taken on the issue as well that Laura and her colleagues have been working on for over a decade. On the topic of older people who are in prison and who are returning from prison. It's, just to sort of set the stage, I mean, we're thinking about people who may have been behind bars for many, many years, may have gone into prison when they were younger, and now they're older and the world has changed around them when they were inside. So what services and what supports are available for people when they get out? And how does the field of aging, in particular, how do providers of older adult services help people once they get out of prison? Entonces, otro tema que estamos hablando, y entonces yo estaba señalando a la señora Laura Whitehorn, que está aquí en el Zoom con nosotros, y ella y sus colegas estaban trabajando por más de 10 años en el tema de qué ocurre con las personas mayores que están encarceladas o que ahora están saliendo de la cárcel. Entonces, para dar una imagen de cuáles son las situaciones, hay muchas personas que fueron encarcelados cuando eran más jóvenes, se pasaron muchísimos años encarcelados y cuando salen, todo el mundo ha cambiado. Ha cambiado la tecnología, la sociedad ha cambiado muchísimo, los barrios de donde provinieron han cambiado también de una forma importante. Entonces, nosotros nos preguntamos cuáles son los servicios y otros apoyos que son necesarios para esas personas que están regresando a la sociedad después de muchos años fuera de la sociedad. And so Laura and her colleagues have been working to pass 2 bills that would create important reforms to make it easier for older people to be able to have a smoother transition back into society, and then also to recognize that older people in prison pose almost no risk to public safety. And so really advocating to make sure that the state is not spending taxpayer money on keeping people incarcerated when they will be much better taken care of in community. And Laura, if you want, I can, sort of give you an opportunity to talk about that as well. I don't know if there's something you want to say or if we want to leave it at that.
I just want to thank so much, Chris.
Yeah.
I want to just add two things. One is that if you think about the disparities, the differences in palliative care between white people and people of color in the society, imagine what it's like to grow old in prison and become ill in a system that not only has poor care to offer, but your medical care is provided as what's seen by the system as a privilege instead of a right. The other thing is that the aging population in prison is skyrocketing all over the country. And the people, as Christian said, who are over 50, over 65, are the people least likely to commit another crime if they're released, but also people who contribute to society. And we can talk later if we have time about a little program that we're doing with the Philip Randolph Senior Center in Harlem, where we've got elders who've been in prison for many years and gotten out, who help people to learn how to advocate for themselves and how to join collectively to get the things that we need as older people, which, as you can see, I include myself in. So thank you so much. We can talk more later.
Thank you
Okay.
for coming in on that. I just wanted to say, Christian, the committee passed a resolution a couple of months ago, the committee passed a resolution a couple of months ago to support the local RAP. That resolution was passed unanimously by the entire community board, so, Laura, I'll get back to you, at the end of Christian's presentation, okay?
Okay, well, thank you, Mary. I mean, it's like, and I did see that in the agenda, so thank you very much for that. Entonces, para traducir lo que estábamos diciendo, yo estaba terminando lo que había dicho antes, que parte del trabajo que está haciendo la señora Whitehorn con sus colegas es tratando de pasar dos leyes que van a hacer un cambio muy importantísimo en las leyes que existen estatalmente, que rigen cuándo es que las personas pueden tener la oportunidad de salir de la cárcel y también cuáles que van a hacer ese proceso mucho más fácil para poder reconocer que hay muchas personas mayores que están en la cárcel hoy en día que poseen muy bajo riesgo poseen muy bajo riesgo para la seguridad pública. Y por lo tanto, pero con todo eso, estamos gastando los miles y miles de dólares todos los años por persona para mantener esas personas encarceladas. Entonces, eso es un problema grave que el trabajo de RAP está tratando de reconocer y cambiar. Y entonces, Mary Anderson nos estaba contando que ustedes pasaron una resolución para apoyar el trabajo de RAP, así que eso ya veo que es una discusión que ya tuvieron. Así que me alegro que lo hayan podido hecho, así que muchísimas gracias. Pero también eso es algo que el State Society on Aging tuvo una discusión sobre ese tema para poder difundir información en el campo de envejecimiento para que las personas reconozcan que esto es un tema importante, porque normalmente no es un tema que se habla mucho fuera del campo de justicia. Normalmente las personas que están trabajando y abogando en el campo de justicia están hablando de este tipo de temas, pero en el campo de envejecimiento esto no se está hablando tanto. Y por lo tanto estábamos trabajando en eso también. And so all of these are examples of different topics that we've taken up. There have been many more. But the important part of this is that the State Society on Aging creates a platform for people in the aging field throughout the state to be able to exchange ideas and keep each other abreast of the latest information. Así que el State Society on Aging es una plataforma para que todo el mundo que está en el campo de envejecimiento puedan reunirse y intercambiar las informaciones que puedan adelantar el campo. So that's pretty much it for me, Mary. So if there's any questions that people have, please let me know. I see that Liz has a question.
Thank you, Christian, so much for that really thorough talk. I just have James Bosley next to me, who's a member of the committee, raising his hand.
Yes, hi. I'm just wondering, the events that you hold, who attends them? Is it only people in the field, or can any member of the public come in? Who are the attendees of these events?
So, bueno, la pregunta era, ¿quiénes son las personas que atienden estos tipos de eventos? So normally it's a lot of people in the field, but they are free to invite anyone that they want as well. So for instance, you have a lot of professors who invite their students to these events. You have directors of senior centers who invite members of their senior center to listen in as well. So they're pretty much open to the public. I mean, it's like they're not closed. The conference is also open to anyone who wishes to go, but of course that's a bit more of a commitment because usually it happens in Saratoga Springs, but anyone is open to register and to go. But the online events that we have are open to the public. Yeah, I can translate directly. Entonces, en respuesta a esa pregunta, he estado diciendo que cualquier persona puede atender los eventos que hacemos. Particularmente los de Zoom son completamente gratuitos. Así que normalmente nosotros tenemos una lista de personas a quien les mandamos esta información. Entonces, claro, ellos pueden, si quieren, difundir la información a quien ellos quieran. Y cualquier persona puede participar en estas discusiones.
You wanted to say that?
Laura, you have a question as well?
Hold on a second. Richard, I know that a couple members of the committee.
I have a
as well-
question.
Okay, hang on a second, Liz. Richard Allman and Dora Garcia attended the conference recently. So, I'd like Richard, who's on the Zoom, to be able to chime in a second. But let's let Liz Ritter, who's also a member of this committee, chime in. Now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Greetings from Mancos, Colorado. I am curious if you could say more about hospice and end of life initiatives. I mean, it's so important, but in the same way that when we heard Laura's presentation on RAP and we got educated about that, and we passed a resolution supporting legislation for that, I'm wondering if there's any particular action that we can take. Is there some advocacy role that we could play on that issue? Is there some pending legislation around that? What can we do to help on that?
Yeah, I would defer to my colleague, Mary Beth Morrissey on that. I mean, on what exactly a community board could do. I mean, it's at this stage. I know that there is legislation that's being passed, and one of the issues that Mary Beth is working with is on implementation. And so that's, more of a technical issue that, goes from institution to institution. And, but again, I mean, it's like for a specific question about, I mean, it's like how a community board could plug into this kind of work. That's something that I deferred to her.
Cool, thank you.
And if you're all interested, I mean, it's like, just let me know and I can maybe have her present to you if you're interested in learning more about that.
Gracias. Y también necesitamos traducción en este.
Sí, claro. Entonces la pregunta de la señora Ritter es, era sobre las informaciones y el trabajo que estamos haciendo sobre el final de la vida, todos los tratamientos y el cuidado en el final de la vida. Entonces ella estaba preguntando qué rol puede tomar su junta, la junta de usted, la junta número 12 de Manhattan, en este campo. Y entonces yo estaba diciendo que eso es una pregunta que la mejor respuesta puede venir de mi colega Mary Beth Marcy, que es también que está en la misma junta de la SSA conmigo. Y ella es la experta en ese campo. Una de las cosas que ella está trabajando en este momento es que existen ciertas leyes que rigen el cuidado, el nivel de cuidado y el tipo de cuidado en el final de la vida, pero esas leyes no se están rigiendo egalitariamente en el estado entero. Y entonces ella está tratando de trabajar con diferentes hospitales y otros centros de cuidado para que ellos puedan regir adecuadamente con la ley. Pero también pueden haber otras cosas que se pueden hacer al nivel de una junta como la de ustedes para poder ayudar en este campo, pero tendría que preguntarle a ella. And so, Laura, you had a question as well, right?
Yeah, and just one other thing on that. I think there are a couple of bills about about the pay for attendee, attendance, and all kinds of things. I think one of the things that's so interesting about seeing you here, Christian, and about the State Society on Aging is how much all of these issues connect with each other. So economic justice, racial justice, aging, all of that. So one thing I think I'm sort of teeing you up to talk about this part of your work, which I think is really important since we're in a senior center, is that you use a model of including people who are affected by the policies and the practices and the studies that you talk about in your work. And so people who are sitting in the senior center can be involved in helping to design whatever research and whatever programs are brought up, are funded by the state or promoted, whatever, or just like our bills came from older people in prison, wrote those bills. And so I think if you could talk about that for a minute, Christian, about your work and how people who are sitting here can get involved.
Sure. Thank you for teeing that up. I mean, it's like that's an important piece as well. And you're right. I mean, it's like all these different issues are linked. And of course, I mean, it's like when you think about somebody's lives, all of these issues intertwine in your life throughout the course of your life and affect people in different ways. And so to the point of sort of involving the community in the research, it is something that we do that is very different from many other research institutes. You know, very often you'll have researchers who will go out into the community and distribute surveys, conduct focus groups, and then bring the information back, but not necessarily involve the community in figuring out what those surveys should say, figuring out how to interpret the information you get from those surveys and that information. And also thinking about how the recommendations that come out of that research are really going to help the community once that report is published. You know, so there's a lack of connection between the effect on the ground and the research purposes, the academic research purposes for this work. But this is something that at the Brookdale Center, I mean, now I'm wearing my other hat, I mean, the Brookdale Center hat, we try to break down that boundary because we feel like our research is only important if it can help people on the ground. And the only way that we could be sure or more sure that our research is really helping people on the ground is by involving directly affected people in as many stages of that research as we possibly can. So that we're not just doing research for the sake of research, but we're doing it for a public purpose. Entonces la pregunta de la señora Whitehorn es que, bueno, básicamente estaba comentando que nosotros en el Brookdale Center que es parte de Hunter College, trabajamos en una manera que es un poco diferente que muchas universidades. Entonces estaba comentando que sí, que es verdad que hay muchas universidades que tienen investigadores que salen a la comunidad para dar una encuesta o organizar un grupo de discusión sobre un tema y entonces ellos anotan la información y lo llevan a la universidad para hacer sus análisis, pero entonces la comunidad nunca ve los resultados de esos estudios. Y no hay la garantía y no hay la expectativa tampoco que los resultados de esas investigaciones van a llegar a beneficiar a la comunidad. Pero nosotros en el Brookdale Center for Healthy Aging queremos hacer eso de una manera diferente. Nosotros queremos asegurarnos que todas las investigaciones que estamos haciendo, todos los recursos que estamos utilizando, y no solo los recursos de dinero que tenemos que recaudar nosotros, pero también los recursos del tiempo de las personas las personas se gastan en la comunidad, llenando encuestas, participando en conversaciones. Queremos que todo ese tiempo y todos esos recursos que se invierten resulten en recomendaciones que puedan ayudar a la comunidad. Así que nosotros queremos asegurarnos que que esas recomendaciones puedan ir directamente a los líderes en la Junta de Consilleres de la ciudad, las personas en Albany también, que ellos puedan hacer los cambios necesarios en las pólizas sociales que puedan ayudar a a las personas mayores o cualquier que son las personas que estamos estudiando. Por ejemplo, estamos ahora realizando un estudio vamos ahora a realizar un estudio que quiere mejorar las pólizas relacionadas con el Social Security. Hay muchas pólizas que necesitan cambiar para que sean más adecuadas para las personas que están saliendo de la cárcel. Por ejemplo, las personas que cuando están en la cárcel no están recibiendo créditos de trabajo hacia recibir el seguro social, el Social Security cuando sean mayores. Así que cuando salen de la cárcel, no van a tener la oportunidad de tener ese seguro social. Así que nosotros estamos haciendo una investigación para cambiar esas pólizas, pero estamos involucrando al grupo de la señora Whitehorn, estamos involucrando a la gente de RAP para que ellos nos puedan decir cuáles son los problemas que estamos realizando y para que ellos puedan interpretar los resultados que estamos viendo para que nosotros podamos entonces ir al gobierno a decir, nosotros estamos seguros que estos son los cambios que hacen falta para que las personas puedan recibir el beneficio. Así que ese es el tipo de colaboración entre nosotros los investigadores y las personas en la comunidad que nosotros creemos que puede resultar en resultados buenos para la comunidad.
Thank you. Okay, we have a question from the audience.
I have a question.
Sure.
So my name is Mark Matfield. Prior to the show, I was a criminal justice advocate. I come out of the Coalition for Parole Restoration. I ran a housing program under the Community Action for Human Services. I also wrote for a prison newspaper for the Deuce Club. And I also worked for Senator Bill Perkins and also for Senator Cordell Clear. I also worked with Julio Medina, who is the executive director for Exodus Transitional Community. I work with Osborne, and I also work for Fortune Society. My question is, right now, the Community Board number 12, what programs and services exist for those men and women coming out of prison that's available in this community right now?
Laura, I think maybe you're the one to answer this question.
Yeah, you want to start, Laura, with this? And I mean, sorry to put you on the spot, but
Well, yeah, I mean, RAP, obviously we have a priority, which is passing these parole bills, not just to get people out of prison, but as a model for having legislation that responds to, sort of real, which, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name and please contact me. But real issues and real people as opposed to headlines that are all about crime, crime, crime. What we find every time we go anywhere is that there are people who are connected, either they themselves, like me, or are formerly incarcerated, or they have family members. And so we are working also on an effort to bring back food packages and ensure actual in-person visiting in the prisons. We work with people who are trying to pass the fund excluded workers bill, which will give people who've been incarcerated and get out after many years some access to social services and money. And that's not just, that's also for the immigrant community and undocumented. So all of these, as when Christian was saying that the older population and the field of aging has to sort of break through the racist barrier of seeing everything in the terms of what happens with white people in the society and opening it up in terms of class and race. I think that the work around prisons does that. And I couldn't hear everything that you said, but I think that if we work within the Community Board 12 and with the senior centers, that we can find out and promote programs and give people, I mean, one of the things that happens when people have been in prison for years, get out and come into the community, is that we are the people like yourself, the man who just spoke, who have a social conscience about how we're all connected and how what happens to the least of us happens, affects everyone. And so we can be part of working in centers and in places where older people gather to try to create some of those programs and to convey the lessons of self-advocacy, which we learned in prison. Because in prison, if you're ill and you don't advocate for yourself to get medical care, you won't get it. If you need to call your family and you don't advocate for access to telephones, you won't get it. So we have things that we can convey and help people learn and come together and use those skills together in order to affect the whole community. And one thing I learned when we started RAP 10 years ago, one of the first things I did was join the Aging Committee of Community Board 12, and Mary and I think are the elders on the Community Board 12, the Aging Committee. And one of the things I learned was that all of the things that we see that make life easier for everyone, like benches at bus stops, chairs in pharmacies while people are waiting for their prescriptions, all of those things started through advocacy for older adults, because we're the first people who need those things. And then obviously, as Christian was saying, this affects people in all stages of life. And it also makes us more connected. So I think that those things, I don't know if I answered your question, and I'll put my email in the chat and we can chat offline or whatever and work together. And maybe I can give you a better answer.
Okay, let me translate all of that, and then I also have a thing to add, but I'll say it after I translate. Bueno, para empezar, la pregunta que hicieron ustedes tuvo que ver, básicamente la mayoría de la pregunta era que la persona que habló ha estado trabajando muchísimos años en el campo de qué hacer con las personas mayores que están regresando de la cárcel. Trabajó en varias organizaciones que están haciendo trabajo en ese campo en particular. Y entonces la pregunta era, ¿qué tipo de trabajo o qué tipo de acción puede hacer la junta de ustedes, la junta número 12 de ustedes, para poder ayudar en ese campo? Y entonces la señora Whitehorn estaba respondiendo que RAP, su organización RAP, se dedica a cambiar las leyes para poder mejorar esta situación. Pero además ellos están trabajando con una red de organizaciones que están tratando de proveer servicios de la manera que pueden, como por ejemplo proveer comida para las personas que no tienen comida, conectar a otras personas a un apartamento cuando le hacen falta. Así que están tratando de hacer lo que pueden para poder ayudar a las personas con las necesidades que presentan cuando salen de la cárcel. Así que eso es una pieza. Entonces siguió diciendo que esto es un tema que no solo es importante para las personas que están saliendo de la cárcel, pero también para la sociedad entera, para decir que las cosas que le pasan a las personas que están mayormente vulnerables, las personas que están, como las personas que están en la cárcel, por ejemplo, las personas que tienen muchísimas necesidades, que están en tantas necesidades, lo que se puede hacer en la sociedad para ayudar a esas personas puede ayudar a todo el mundo. Las pólizas que ayudan a las personas que son más necesitados son las pólizas que pueden ayudar a todo el mundo. Y eso es la idea y el concepto que debe regir el trabajo que todos estamos haciendo, en el campo de envejecimiento. And so, to that, I wanted to say also that one of the big conceits of SSA's work with older adult centers and other people in the aging field is that providers of older adult services are already providing a lot of the services that people need when they're coming out of prison. And so the issue is that a lot of senior centers and case managers and other providers in the field don't always know that they're working with people who are coming out of prison as well, and are not always aware of what to give. So part of the work that we try to do here is to connect the work and the knowledge that RAP and their colleagues have to older adult services providers so that they're aware that this is a population that they're probably already seeing. And if they're not, it's a population that also needs help from them as well. And so to that extent, I mean, to any kind of work that you do as a community board to support your local senior centers, and also to remind them that, there's a wide range of people who are older, who have different needs and especially different backgrounds. Any work that you can do to support that is work that you'd be doing to support people returning from prison as well. Entonces, yo lo que le añadía a lo que dijo la señora Whitehorn es que el trabajo que hace la Junta número 12 y todas las juntas de la ciudad para apoyar a los centros para las personas mayores y apoyar todos los servicios que se proveen a las personas mayores, es buen trabajo que pueda apoyar también a las personas que están saliendo de la cárcel. Porque una de las cosas una de las pedazos de información que nosotros estamos tratando de transmitirle a los directores de las organizaciones que están proveyendo servicios para las personas mayores es que el tipo de servicios que ustedes proveen, nutrición, vivienda, todas las cosas beneficios también, conexión a beneficios, todos esos servicios que todas las personas mayores necesitan son también los servicios y más que necesitan las personas cuando están regresando de la cárcel. Así que ya existe un sistema que está capacitado y que con más dinero y más apoyo puede hasta aún tener más capacidad para ayudar a esas personas que están regresando. Así que es una red que ya existe. Y ustedes como junta puede apoyar esa red que ya existe también y también dejarlos saber que sí existe una población de personas que están regresando de la cárcel y que también necesita la ayuda que ya se está proveyendo a otras personas.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Christian. I just want to interrupt for a second and introduce my assistant chair, Joseph Polinsky.
Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you. Sorry
that's
for my
joined us.
tardiness. It's very nice to be here, to see so many of you in person. We've been on Zoom from the office for so many months and years. So it's just very nice to see your faces.
Any other questions? Any other questions from anybody here or anybody on Zoom?
Yes, I have one.
Yes.
Hold on a second.
There or here?
Hold on.
I have a two-point question. Most of us, if you use the so-called demographics of this area and all of New York City, you know that the people in senior centers are 60 and over. And most of us can only perhaps make recommendation of how we can get people to replace us, primarily at the state the, State Society of Aging, what are the minimum qualifications for a person to be, I presume membership is part of the connection. What is the minimum qualification? What would be the earning capacity of that person who may have, achieved those qualifications? Plus, is the community board, salary, or is this a volunteer position? That's my question. Minimum qualification for recommendation to grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
I can answer the part about the community board. All positions except for, the office staff are volunteer positions. Okay, we apply to be on the community board, and from the borough president's office, they, select, whoever they feel qualified, to be on the community board. And that is for all of the community boards, the entire New York City area. Okay, there are 12 community boards in Manhattan, and, we are community board 12. Christian, can you answer about the State Society membership?
Sure, yeah, all the board of the State Society on Aging, which includes me, is volunteer-based. So my job is with the Brookdale Center for Healthy Aging, and my work with SSA is on a volunteer basis. So,
The minimum
entonces la pregunta,
Go ahead.
sorry,
minimum qualification, whether some school, no school, how you then,
Anybody, open to anybody, anybody can apply.
no, what is the minimum qualification to become a member? Meaning, do you have to finish high school? The answer is no, say it.
The answer is no.
For the State Society.
I'm sorry. The State Society,
They say it's
One second.
voluntary. Yes, you probably need to apply with the community board, you only need to reside in the district.
So I don't have, that person does not have to finish grade school.
No, that's,
That's,
just leave it in the district or the community board. Yes.
and the salary possibility for the person who is a member of that society.
No,
They're
no, it's
volunteers.
Volunteer.
volunteer.
Very high salary.
You are.
Very high salary.
All right. Thank you. Now, Richard Ullman, I wanted to get to you. and
well,
see you-
do you want me to translate that quickly? Or,
Yes, please. Okay, Christian. Thank you.
okay, entonces la pregunta era sobre las cualificaciones mínimas para poder ser un miembro de la junta, de la junta número 12 y también para el State Society on Aging. Y entonces y también el salario. Y entonces tanto para la junta y para el State Society on Aging es trabajo voluntario. Entonces yo tengo mi trabajo en Hunter College, en el Brookdale Center for Healthy Aging, pero el trabajo que hago con el State Society on Aging como miembro de la junta es trabajo voluntario. Y no hay cualificaciones mínimas de educación para poder ser miembro de cualquier de esas dos organizaciones. Richard, you had a question?
Thank you. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Richard.
Actually, it's probably directed to Mary and Ebenezer especially. I'm having trouble hearing. And it seems, maybe this has come up earlier in the meeting, but everything that's coming through the microphone or on site is really hard to hear.
Okay, we'll do our best in the last 15 minutes. Okay.
I'm sorry, Richard, let me ask you, is in general or when we use the microphone inside here?
Yeah, you.
You're muted, Richard.
Yeah.
With apologies, I wasn't here at the beginning of the meeting, so I don't know the full setup. I know when Mary speaks, I have trouble hearing. I hear Yosef a little better. When those of you who are on site at Dykeman speak, it's inconsistent.
Okay, maybe from people far away from the microphone of
We
the
have to
owl.
come close to the owl. The owl is the best place to
Yes.
sound.
Do that, but the microphone itself seems to be a problem also.
Yes, with the microphone we have inside is intended only for the people inside the room.
Right.
I don't know what the problem is.
I think think I understand, meaning
Yeah.
you hear us when we're near the owl.
Yeah.
Or if we project our voice, then I think you hear us. If someone is on a mic in the room, the speaker is not getting into the owl. Clearly, they have to come closer to the owl
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah, because the speaker is on the floor. That
Right.
was, that was
Yeah.
happening.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Fine,
Yeah.
Okay,
understood.
thank you for let us know. We're gonna fix that.
Where are we up to now? We're to here? No,
So, all right, so any other questions? Did you raise your hand again?
Closer to the aisle. So
Okay.
there's peoples that are sitting here who may not be familiar with the function
of the community
of the
board.
community board.
Sure.
Can you give a quick overview of just exactly what the community board does?
Joseph? Go
Oh,
ahead.
Ebenezer's here. Ebenezer does better than I
Well,
do. I'll begin, I'll let Ebenezer continue. The community board is, as we said, it consists of about 50 volunteers in 12 parts of Manhattan. Manhattan has 12 community boards. So each community board covers a different section of Manhattan. We're on the tip, that's why we're 12. Number 1 is on the bottom. And we make up a number, I don't know, 10 committees? How many committees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
done.
About 10 committees relating to issues for the community. Some of them have to do with safety, some of them have to do with the aging, some of them have to do with traffic and transportation, some have to do with the parks. Everything that really, cross-section of things that relate to the community needs. And if we're doing a good job, we're here to represent the community and to hear from the community. And we report back, it functions out of the borough president's office. The borough president is on top of all the community boards, and he works with the mayor. We don't have direct access to any budgets per se, but we are in touch with the organizations through the city that are funding things like things in the parks, things on the transportation, on the streets, things in the senior centers. We have some, the licensing community has to do with their, things to get licensed, so we don't have voting power in terms of decision-making, but when we vote, we're saying we representing the community have this following opinion on such and such an issue in our community. And hopefully they listen to us. And if not, we scream a little bit louder.
Right.
How is that, Ebenezer?
Yeah, very good. Not too many things to add.
Can you translate?
Well,
I should.
That they may not know. You are basically sitting in on an aging committee,
Right.
not the whole
Right.
community center. I just want to be
Yes,
clear.
not the whole community
that,
board. Once a month, all the board members come together and it's open to the public.
Yeah.
And that's when we vote collectively on things that may have been raised in each of the individual committees. That's important.
We had a very excellent presentation, I think about 2 or 3 months ago, on just the question that Mark
Mhm.
had asked about the whole population aging in prison.
Yeah.
A lot of emphasis on that.
Right.
But I think you had your question answered.
Yes.
Maybe we could put Mark in touch with the spokesperson. She was very good.
Yeah. And I met with, someone from community board at a Commons meeting a month and a half ago.
Wonderful.
Good.
I don't think we need to traffic.
Good.
Do you want to hear any?
Let
I think
us
this would be a
say
good population to ask for
the,
future topics.
Pandemic, some of you may have been at one of these meetings, some of you are new to it. But we try to have one of the aging meetings here, and Mary has accommodated us for this meeting, and I already said, our door is open, when are you coming again?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
And I
Carol.
just wanted to tell you that we're welcoming you anytime. That's the,
Okay, can I read that next question?
yeah, you can find out.
Sound like Miranda?
You need to.
Liz, that.
Thank you, Carol, and we appreciate Dykeman Senior Center's invitation to have a meeting here this month and also more in the future.
Pandemic, the very first one that anyone is going to.
Right.
We want to thank the city, Ebenezer, for doing such a good job.
Okay, I have a question from a committee member, Liz Ritter. Please. You're muted.
My question is, when are you coming back?
Uh,
Liz?
Liz, if you're available, you have the floor. Otherwise, we'll open up to some other questions.
Sorry, I was having trouble juggling my device to unmute. I just wanted to say that in reference to what is a community board, I just wanted to say that we're an advisory body only. And while I definitely would encourage people to come to the general committee meetings to talk for a couple of minutes during the public session, to raise whatever issues may be of concern to them or to speak in support of whatever resolutions we might be voting on. The work of the board does happen in the committee in an environment such as this one, where it's a little bit more freeform and we can share our ideas and thoughts on something and then bring stuff to the full board. And as Yosef did mention, we do have 9 other committees that work on specific areas.
Así que en breve toda esa conversación tenía que ver sobre la función de la junta como la de ustedes, como la junta número 12. Entonces la junta número 12 es una de 12 juntas en todo Manhattan y también debo añadir que los otros condados también tienen sus juntas barrio por barrio. Y básicamente es una junta consultoria sobre el barrio. Así que cualquier temas y situaciones que surgen en esas comunidades, en esos barrios, se les explica a las juntas y entonces ellos de ahí pueden dar recomendaciones a las personas que toman las decisiones sobre cómo arreglar los temas y las situaciones que surgen en los barrios. Así que es un recurso para ustedes. Si ven algo que no les gusta, si ven algo que quieren cambiar, si ven alguna oportunidad para alguna inversión que todavía no se ha hecho, la Junta es un recurso para ustedes para que puedan empezar ese proceso de elevar el tema a las personas que últimamente tienen la responsabilidad de tomar las decisiones. Pero la Junta es solo consultoria. Ellos mismos no pueden tomar las decisiones. Es solo consultoria, así que ellos pueden dar la recomendación a las personas que sí tienen el cargo de tomar las decisiones y hacer las inversiones.
He did it well, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kristen, and thank you all. We're going to move the agenda, okay, because we have a couple of other things to get discussed here. Future speakers and presentations. I know that last month and the month before there were several suggestions made. One of the things I'm thinking about, since we have people on the Zoom meeting, one of the suggestions was watching some films from formerly incarcerated persons and Rapp's documentary, The Interview. I'm wondering if that might be a possibility for next month's meeting. Committee members?
Watching, you're saying?
Yes.
How long is the
It's
film?
on our end.
Laura, how long is that film?
20 minutes. And then we could have some of the people who are in the film to answer questions and have a discussion. It's really pretty, it's a New Yorker documentary and it's really interesting. I would love to do that. We could arrange that.
What do you think, committee members?
I think if our agenda is not full already for next meeting, that's a great idea, but we only have a certain amount of time.
It's not full yet.
Okay, so I'm all for it.
Yes,
Sure.
yes.
Yeah.
Liz, any thoughts? Richard? Okay, so let's do that then, okay? So that will take care of next month. Our next meeting will be on May 2nd at 10:30 a.m. And I think that we need to do the next meeting at the community board office, because one of the things I would like to talk about is how people felt about this meeting and how it went and what we need to do, if we need to change anything or do anything differently or whatever. So let's just, strategize on that, okay? So next month's meeting will be at the community board office, which is at 530 West 166th Street on the 6th floor. So, I will be sending out the agenda and the link to Carol Weeks for the next meeting, along with everybody else, so that, anybody can come to that meeting. It's an open meeting. We'd love for more people to come in person.
I'll take them in.
There's also a Zoom link for people that are comfortable going on their computer. Any other business that we need to talk about, committee members? Going once, going twice. Can I have
Motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn by Joseph? Second by Carol Weeks. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining this meeting. And really, again, appreciate your hospitality.
Thank you, Ebenezer. You got it for me.
Phew.